everyone, and happy Financially Lit Tuesday! Back at it again for another Lit Tuesday. For those of you tuned in, go ahead and hit the share and subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Let your friends and family know that we're going to be talking about LLCs and SCorps today. So for your small business friends, for people that want to own a business, you definitely want to tune into this live. Go ahead and share it with your friends and family. I'm pretty sure you have friends and family in your network that have a business or that even want to be in business. So this is definitely a live they want to be tuned into, y'all. Like, this is big. Like I said, I will be doing LLC versus SCorp. How are y'all feeling today? Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know who's tuned in and listening in with me today for this Financially Lit Tuesday. All right, and then I'm gonna get started. All right. So today, like I said, we're going over SCorp, the differences between SCorp and LLCs. Because I've seen a lot of individuals and business owners just a little confused about how they operate. A lot of people are looking to change their LLC taxation into an SCorp, but they don't know how to do so, or they're doing it without actually knowing why they're doing it. They just heard it was a good idea. So it may work for your business, it may not. So it may be lucrative or not for your business. Filing a return for a sole proprietor LLC is a lot cheaper than an SCorp. There's, more regulations and scrutiny for S corporations as well. So I'll go over, the pros and cons, things like that, but I'll also go over ways that you can go about doing so and some entity structures for business owners as well. Love your videos. Thank you, Trey. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. So let's go ahead and get started. So the different entity structures. So this is legal structures. Like you go on, for my Floridians, you go on Sunbiz and you're like, hey, or you go on LegalZoom for everybody else. Or even if you're in Florida, you go on these two websites and you're like, I want to open up a LLC, or I want to open up a business. All right, here's my opportunity, right? So when you do that, you're left with 4 different options, right? You're sitting there and you're stuck with 4 options. One of them you've probably seen, sole proprietorships. Sole proprietorships are single owned. You're a business, but you're kind of like a 1099 contractor in a way, where you're self-employed, but you don't have the business backing power behind it. You don't have the legalities of a full structured business. So you're able to do business, but you don't have the legal protection on your assets, things like that. So sole proprietors is just you, yourself, that's it, right? Then you have partnerships. So partnerships, maybe you have a friend or relative or whoever the case may be, and y'all come together and you're like, hey, I want to, let's go in business together. You make peanut butter, I make jelly, let's make this thing pop. And y'all start this peanut butter and jelly company, and y'all are awesome, right? So that's what a partnership is more like. Then you have your corporation. Corporation is like a separate entity. Like you had a baby and that baby grows up and do whatever it wants. That's a corporation. It is completely separate from the parent, but you still have ownership of that child. It's your child. But it's its own person as well. So that's your corporations. And then you have your LLCs. So LLCs is actually the most common form of business. So a lot of people got LLCs out there. It's LLC, right? So, and LLCs have their pros and cons as well. Who are my business owners tuning in with me today? What's your business? I want to know what your business is and what type of business structure you have. So let me see who's out there. All right. So the separation. The separation of a corporation, it helps because people are like, hey, I want an entity that's completely separate from myself. Yes, Burley says, For You Property Solutions. Okay, Burley, For You Property Solutions. Gotcha. Okay. Shay said real estate. I love it. Okay. Real estate is actually where wealthy people go to build their wealth and where they go to put their money. Cultures, LLC. Cool. And we have a W-2 1099, real estate and food service. Okay. I like it. Look at my business owners out here. Awesome. So when it comes to corporation, but then you have your LLC. LLCs, they can also be used. Can also be used as pass-through organizations. So they are not separate from the owner, right? But it allows the owner to put their assets into an entity that is slightly outside of themselves. So it provides that asset protection for the business owner. So that's what LLCs are generally used for. A lot of people use LLCs for operating businesses, just regular business ownership. All right, she said, I have an EIN and a registered business name, but not an LLC or SCorp. The business provides tree and yard service. Interesting. Cool. So you just did the EIN, probably just do taxes on a regular Schedule C. Nothing too crazy. Haven't done the state registration yet, but maybe as your business grows, you will do so. So LLCs, that's generally what they're used for. Corporations are taxed directly. So because like I said, they're like a baby. You gave birth to the baby, you created the corporation. Now, as the baby grows up, now as the baby got to pay its own taxes. I mean, your baby doesn't have to pay their taxes yet, but unless they're bringing in money, because the baby can have ownership of different businesses and things like that. But that's outside of this. But LLCs, it helps protect their LLC members in case of a lawsuit, or even when it comes to debt. Now, does it save you in totality? Some people think just because I have an LLC, I'm good. Like, if I get sued, only the LLC gets hit and my assets are safe. Now, there is a way that you still have your personal assets attacked even if you have an LLC. That's why it is crucial that you keep your business financials and your personal financials absolutely separate, and that you make sure that you have a proper paperwork, operating agreements in line, all your legal paperwork in line, so that you can make sure in case of a lawsuit, they don't come after your personal assets and it just hits the LLC. All right. I know we have people out there that are like, oh yeah, LLC saves me. Now, if you're operating a normal, doing all your business operations through the LLC, you don't also want to hold your assets in that same LLC. You want to spread it up. You want to create another LLC that probably holds the assets, and another one that does the general course of business, all the other transactions. Just because if that business gets sued, then you're screwed. Like Victoria's Secret, Pink, all their brands, right? Bath and Body Works, they're not, if you look at, their legal paperwork, they're owned by a management company, right? So even though, their management company pays their employees and everything, because even though, Victoria's Secret is doing business and doing whatever they need to do, even though Pink is a business and they're running operations, if anything happens in one of their stores or whatever happens, they don't want to get sued and their entire brand, all their brands go, to waste, right? So that's why it is very important that you set up, if it suits you, set up multiple entity structures so that you're well protected. But that's why you want to make sure that you're consulting with a knowledgeable lawyer or an accountant, to figure out which ways that you should move efficiently. Burley said, great explanation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, for S-Corps, like I said, S-Corps are just a tax classification, right? So you won't see S-Corp like on the SunBiz, right? As a legal structure to go ahead and sign up your business as an S-Corp. S-Corp stands for small corporation, right? But it's just a tax classification, meaning, hey, IRS, we're just a little small company. We're not that big. We have less than 100 shareholders. Can you not tax us like you do those big corporations? That's what you're essentially saying, right? So majority of businesses are small businesses, meaning they have under 500 employees. And, in case of that S-Corp, you have less than that 100 shareholders. For my taxation, you can be taxed in technically 6 different ways, right? So you have your sole proprietor, or 5 different ways. You have your sole proprietor taxation, which LLCs fall under that, because when it comes to taxation, you can be taxed as you are taxed still as a sole proprietor. You're still paying your self-employment tax. You're taxed on all the income, depending on whatever income bracket you would fall under personally. And then you have your partnerships. Partnerships and joint ventures. They're still kind of considered partnerships, right? So when it comes to partnerships, you still have your. Hopefully, I know I'm spending a lot of information here, but I do want to make sure that everyone's getting it. Let me get a wave or emoji, something, make sure that everybody following me. I know I'm spending a lot of information out here. Make sure I didn't lose y'all. So with partnerships, you do want to make sure that you have your operating agreement. It's crucial before you get into the partnership. I went over that in previous lives already. Now, again, with partnerships, you can be, when it's taxed, you're taxed still on an individual basis. This is how it works. You file a 1065, which is a partnership tax return. And what happens in that tax return, you say, hey, me and Joe, we own this business together. We made this amount of money. We had this amount of expenses. Our net profit for the business is $10,000. Right? I love these emojis. Our net profit is $10,000. So me and Joe, our hair care business made Hair Care Beyond made $10,000 for the year net profit. Now what happens is we have a Schedule K that is created when we file our 1065 that we take to our personal tax return, which is the 1040. So our personal tax return, we take that paper that came from our partnership tax return, and we say, hey, let me go ahead and put this in my personal return to account for my half of the amount of money that we made in the business together. So we made $10,000 together. I own 50% of the business. Joe owns 50% of the business, which means I owe taxes on $5,000 of that money, because that's how much money I made in that partnership. So on that Schedule K is going to show that, hey, my portion that I should be paying taxes on is $5,000. So when I put it on my personal tax return, it will increase your AGI, adjusted gross income, by $5,000, because you essentially made an additional $5,000 with your partnership, right? That's how partnership taxation works. You're still being taxed sole proprietor kind of ish, where you still have to pay the taxes like a regular sole proprietor on that income that you earned, but you had that additional tax return that you had to file to show the partnership. Also with partnerships and S-Corps, your tax return is due ahead of time. So they're due in March generally, if pandemic is not doing this thing. March 15th is your deadline for S-Corp in partnership returns. Y'all don't be late, because that penalty is heavy. That the penalty is crazy. It's, I believe, $120 a month per owner. So say I have 5 owners at the table and we're 2 months late. That's 5 of us times 120 times 2. So it really gets heavy. It gets heavy on those penalties. So and plus interest. So make sure you're filing those tax returns on time to avoid those penalties. All right. Then we have corporations. Corporations, you can be taxed as a C Corp or an S Corp. Right, a C Corp is one of the, those scary ones you heard that, oh my gosh, they have to do the double taxation. Oh my God, they pay so much in taxes, right? So you hear all the stories about corporations and how much taxes they have to pay. But one thing they have, they are under more scrutiny, but they have more leeway as far as how many owners, shareholders they can have. So they can have as many shareholders as they want. They can have different stock options, meaning they can have different voting rights for their shareholders, which with S corporations, your shareholders have to have the same voting rights. So you can't have preferred stock, common stock, all that. I don't even know if y'all really heard of it, but you can't have those different stock options when you do a S Corp. You have to just have common stock. Everybody, same thing. Everybody only have the same type of stock. And you could only have up to 100 shareholders with an S Corp. Because you're saying, I'm a small corporation. We're not in the big leagues really yet, right? So that's what your different taxations versus C Corp versus S Corp. All right, and then we have our estate tax, based on the person's, somebody could have an estate for someone that passed away. So estate taxes work a little differently. And then you have trust. You have different type of trust. You have conservationships, custodianships, guardianships, irrevocable, revocable trust. You have the different type of trust. So they are taxed differently as well. Estate and trust, they're taxed differently. But we're just focusing on the LLC and S Corp today. All right, so just remember those type of taxations. Now with your LLCs, now for my people that have single member disregarded LLCs, even if you have your tax, like you have a 1099, a 1099 contractors are taxed that way. LLCs, sole proprietors. Sole proprietors is what I was looking for. So with those single member LLCs, you're a disregarded entity. When you hear a disregarded entity, it basically means that you're not a separate, you're not like a separate entity from the owner. Meaning, hey, like you're still one with the owner, meaning you have to pay self-employment tax on the income that you receive. You're taxed just like a sole proprietor or a 1099 contractor, meaning you have that self-employment tax. With self-employment tax, you have to pay the employer portion and the employee portion. So normally, if you have employees, then you pay 7.65% of the tax bill for your employee, right? Medicare and Social Security. Then, but because now you're your own employee, you have to pay both portions. So, but half of it is deductible. So, so you do have to pay that 15.3% on the amount of money they make. You put the other half as deductible taxes, but it's still taxes that you have to pay on the taxes that you could have decreased or avoided, depending on how big your entity is. Now, for those of you that that are doing real estate flips, maybe you're doing 3 or more flips per year and you're bringing in a lot of revenue and not as many expenses, you're going to get hit heavy with that self-employment tax. Not only the income tax is going to push you into another bracket, depending on what bracket you may fall under, but you also have that additional self-employment tax, which is 15.3%. Like, so say you made $100,000, right? Your tax bracket is, well, we'll say how much you owe in tax regular. Say your regular income tax is $5,000. And then your AGI is 60 grand. Now on that 60 grand, you have to pay an additional 15.3% to account for the self-employment tax, right? That's a lot. It gets heavy. It definitely gets heavy. So one of the big ways and big reasons why people do SCorp elections is to avoid that self-employment tax. So because when you have an SCorp, you are a employee of your business. So yes, you do have employment taxes that you still pay on your employees and things like that, but you're still an employee of your business. So it works out to be a lot cheaper versus you taking a full 15.3% hit. As an SCorp, you cannot help avoid that double hit in a sense. Hopefully that makes sense. That's one of the bigger reasons. When it comes to another reason why people choose SCorps is sometimes they have different partners. So partners that are in the company, and you don't necessarily want to do a regular partnership. So you want to be able to issue different shares and things like that to your multiple partners without having to do a regular partnership return, and you still want the tax benefit as well. So that's another reason why someone may go for an SCorp versus a regular LLC. The benefits of doing an LLC versus an SCorp, or sticking with an LLC versus an SCorp, like I said, there's a lot less scrutiny when it comes to managing an LLC. There is more regulations, more rules. There are more documentation that goes with ownership of an LLC that many people that owns an SCorp, my apologies, don't actually look into getting it done. So when it comes to making sure that you're in compliance, doing your annual minutes, even if it's yourself, you have to document those things, right? You still have to document the different recordings, and maybe even your shareholders. You have to hold these different meetings and things like that. And it has to be well documented, because if some blowback happens and the IRS or any state officials are looking for information on the organization, then you can be fined or worse, right? So we want to make sure that we don't put our businesses in a faulty state. We want to make sure it's on a nice, solid foundation. Yes, SCorps are great for high earners. My business owners that own a lot, like I talk about real estate a lot because that's one of the greatest ways into wealth building. That's literally the way. I don't know a wealthy person or that doesn't own real estate. They all do. So it's something definitely to entertain and look into. But those that are actually real estate investors, are actually working the market, things like that, you do want to maybe look into an SCorp because of the heavy amounts of taxation that you may be faced with. Right, for my smaller companies that are just getting their business off the ground, you may want to not do an SCorp so soon because it's going to cost you, more money for upkeep, more paperwork, more money for upkeep. But once you start earning more money, you can elect the SCorp. You can do the SCorp election. Now with SCorp election, you have to do it before, basically before March. Go ahead and get it done, because by mid-March, you're already past the deadline to get it done this year. And then you're going to have to seek approval from the IRS to go ahead and get the SCorp done for that year. So say for 2021, if I wanted to be an SCorp for 2021 and be considered an SCorp for 2021, I already missed the deadline, because I was supposed to have that done by March 15th. It's around March 15th. By mid-March, it was already supposed to be done. That was the deadline. But say I can still apply for it now, but I have to have a good reason why I didn't do it sooner. And it's up to the IRS to approve it or not. They have a hotline and everything that you can call in for the status and update. For those of you, do you have to make a certain amount in an SCorp? You don't. You can make negative dollars. You can make a gajillion dollars. No, there is not a certain amount. But generally, I recommend that that you're at least around 50 to 100K before you start considering an SCorp, just because the amount of it does cost a lot more to manage, even with filing the tax return for an SCorp. It is a lot more complicated, which with complications, of course, if you're hiring somebody to do it, it's going to cost a lot more. If you're doing it yourself, it's going to take a lot more like knowledge to get it done. So you do, and then also the benefits aren't there as much if you're not earning a substantial higher amount of money, because say your taxes on that amount of money is $600, but in order to do the SCorp tax return, you pay $1,500. Right? And you're still trying to get the SCorp off of the ground. So definitely, I recommend getting the business rolling a little more before electing SCorp status. Now, if you feel like, hey, I need to have SCorp status so I can make sure that I have this amount of shareholders, whatever the case may be, then get it done, right? Because you want to be able to market the company on a broader scale. But if we're talking money, then yeah. Verly said, how do you change the LLC to an SCorp? Yes. So how do you change it? There is a form 2553. I'll repeat that again. 2553 is the form. So you can literally Google irs.gov, go on their website, get form 2553. And then you can go ahead and fill it out, fax it to the IRS. Simple as that. And then and then that's it. Your election is done. Now you can say you want to do it for 2022. When you file your taxes for 2021 next year, you can send it off together. So you can send them together as one, and then you can go ahead and elect your business for going forward to be considered an SCorp, and then check on the status and all that. I recommend you checking on the status and making sure if you don't get a notice. It usually takes about 60 days or so. The IRS is a little slow these days, so give it an extra like 2 weeks. So instead of the normal 60 days, give it like 75 days. Because the IRS is a little heavy behind, but you definitely want to make sure that you're looking at the status. You should get a letter and everything, making sure I'm showing that everything is up to date. But that's how you do it. But yes, if you're like, hey, yo, this is too confusing, this form is not it, you can reach out to us at GramNet Financial. We do help with changing your elections from sole proprietorship, regular disregarded entity LLCs to a SCorp. So if you're needing that paperwork filed, we do assist with that as well. Y'all, it was so nice tonight on Financially Lit. Thank you for you all. Hopefully this information was beneficial. Go ahead and drop a comment. If you're on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube, drop a comment. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Sipping Wealth. If you found this information beneficial and helpful to you, please share it and let other individuals, business owners know. It's definitely information that's necessary in the business world as well. Yes, we do have our Wealth Up workshop coming up. So we are talking about mastering finances for business. I'll be going over accounting tips, business tips, financial statements. So really the foundations to finance in a business. So a lot of business owners, we get into business and we don't know nothing about the financials. We barely know the financials on our lives. but we get into business and we lit, right? So the workshop is geared towards making sure that business owners know the basics to the financials when it comes to business ownership. The workshop is literally next Saturday, July 10th. You can head over to Eventbrite or our website, grandfinancial.com, and get your ticket. It is we have virtual and we have in person as well. In person will be held at One Bridge Connect in the Regency Square Mall in Jacksonville, Florida. For those of you that are like outside of Jacksonville or are like, yeah, I feel more comfortable tuning in from home, then you can do that as well. The workshop includes, for my virtual goers, it includes a strategy session. And then for my in-person goers, my people that came all the way there, you will receive an awesome gift bag. So definitely excited. We're going to be stuffing the gift bag with some awesome goodies and knickknacks and things. So definitely be sure to sign up for that workshop that's coming up in literally less than 2 weeks. Right now, it's currently 50% off. Just running a promotion. Why is it so cheap? Because I want to make sure that the business owners have this information. It's not about me, swolling my pockets up, right? It's not about me making a lot of money. It's about me getting the information out there, making sure that these business owners are knowledgeable, especially within my community, that are knowledgeable about business ownership and the financials that goes behind it. So I definitely want to make sure that y'all know what y'all doing when it comes to managing your money and know what you're looking at when it comes to the financial statements and everything when it surrounding the money in your business. So sign up for that workshop coming up in about 2 weeks. I will see y'all next Tuesday for Financially Tuesday. We'll be bringing on Autumn Redding with ADQM Solutions. We're going to be talking marketing, y'all. Yes, we're about to be lit next Tuesday. So we're going to be talking marketing. Victoria's Secret and Aunt Jemima just did a rebranding. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk money. We're going to talk marketing tips. We're going to get all it in there, all that good stuff. And then a week from that, we're going to have Brianna Bella's there with credit. Y'all, so we're going to get in credits, business, all that good stuff, bringing you tips, tricks, and all that good stuff about credit. And so we have that credit specialist bringing you all the gems. I will see y'all next Tuesday for another round of Financially Tuesday. Have a great evening, y'all.